I'm definitely speaking from experience. This is definitely a highly dangerous situation because this guy was the middleman. He was the party guy. He was the person who lined up the parties and festivities for a lot of guys a lot more wealthy and affluent than him.
Do you think Diddy would want you?
Probably be in his best interest if I was.
Now that you've given this interview and you've gone public again and made it very clear what you think of Sean Diddy Combs, do you fear about reprisals?
No, I don't fear anything like that. I'm very, very good at what I do, and I'm trained in everything dangerous. Well, my gut feeling on what's going to take place is, well, we're going to see a lot of strange things take place due to the fact that I know how this world works. After working in the industry, I converted my business to combat human trafficking. Last year, my team brought home 17 people, 4 children, 1 boy. And whenever these trials come about, the closer you get to the trial date, a lot of things start happening to remove people from the case that are going to strengthen the case for the prosecution. And I feel like we're watching that take place now with one of the male worker guys who provided tapes to the feds. He's disappeared. And this is similar to what happened in the Tory Lanez case, where the bodyguard whose DNA was on the weapon, he disappeared. So I expect to see a lot of strange things take place. I expect to see the defense team do a lot of steps to lighten the image of Combs. And we've been watching that take place. So what I've learned is whenever you see a gentleman like this from affluence and power, whenever they have an addiction to MDMA, they call it the love. So he's been doing this for over 20 years. So that's gonna lead his view skewed when it comes to activity. I believe it's helped turn him into a deviant. And you know, what type of man wants to see another man urinate in his wife's mouth? I feel like it's evil. I think his behavior is egregious. And you know, I have a history of using very heinous acts on people like this who participate in this type of lascivious acts. Just to give some insight to people watching, when you come under federal investigation, they send you a target letter. You know, you get informed that you're being investigated. So if you wanted to tie up loose ends and you were concerned that people that you knew could incriminate you, you may have interest in eliminating them. We've seen this all throughout history.
I mean, this sounds kind of mafioso stuff, but I sense that you're talking from a lot of experience here, that you genuinely believe this is a highly dangerous situation involving a highly dangerous man with very dangerous people acting on his behalf, potentially.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely speaking from experience. This is definitely a highly dangerous situation because this guy was the middleman. He was the party guy. He was the person who lined up the parties and festivities for a lot of guys a lot more wealthy and affluent than him. So, you know, I'm a person who believes that the Epstein's list is very similar to Diddy's list. I know this situation is dangerous. I've had several attempts on my life throughout my career. And, you know, where there's one dangerous guy, there's a group.
You referenced earlier, I have a history of heinous acts against people who behave like that. What did you mean by that?
Well, there's a lawsuit that I'm listed in where allegedly I quipped Combs about his deviant activity and protected the plaintiff and pointed a firearm at Mr. Combs. That's what the paperwork says. They don't have their facts right, but you know, I have a reputation for maintaining a proper balance.
What was he doing, Combs, at the time?
See, that's all alleged. So you know, they don't really got they don't have the facts correct with that situation. There's some sort of conspiracy going on because the same law firm that has brought this case, they tried to file this same case last year. They finally got it amended this year, And this same law firm was trying to pay me $5 grand to come talk on an interview. I turned it down, and then they filed this paperwork. You know, I firmly believe that this lawsuit was filed by people off his side to try to discredit me, other witnesses, and to try to get this current case that he's on thrown out. That's how deep this goes, because the law firm who brought this asinine case, nobody can seem to track them down. How can they have this case amended? Who has the finances to file this type of lawsuit? You know, I got to pay Ed Zappia 15 grand to represent me in a case like this while this trial is going on. Something weird is happening.
But just to be clear, was there an incident where you witnessed somebody who was being abused or about to be abused or had been abused by Diddy, by Sean Combs, and you intervened and warned him to stop?
Definitely.
And what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, it's an open case, so like I can't really expound too much on that. But I've had several calls about this guy. You know, I've had several calls about his son. You know, people reaching under ladies' dresses, fondling them without asking for permission. You know, where did he learn this behavior from? Where would he learn that from? You know, legendary Dapper Dan said he grew up, he knew Combs' parents, and he said what's going on with Combs didn't start with him, it started with his family. The same things that I see when I'm battling cases. The most common enablers of this activity are close relatives, families, and friends. What people have to understand is parties exist. And that's exactly the lifestyle that this gentleman lives. He's a swinger and hang with others. That's what it is. Like, the term freak off has become sensationalized by media, but what the true nature and name for this event is gonna be called a party, Pierce. And that's what takes place. You people, partners sharing their partner, indulging in acts. You know, as long as things are consensual, you know, what people do is their business. But if I'm getting a call because somebody's applying oppression to other people, that's when things become a problem. You know, I had sent in a video of the guy, Combs, walking around, collecting everyone's cell phone before they get onto a yacht to go party. Why do you have to collect everyone's cell phone before you go onto a party? He's collecting the phones himself. That's what I meant by there's layers to the party. You know, the first part of the event is gonna be a normal socializing mixer. But, you know, when the guy comes out collecting phones, that's when things are about to get, that's when somebody's cake's getting touched. This is how it goes. It's a zest apocalypse right now, man. We gotta do something about this.
Now that you've given this interview and you've gone public again, and made it very clear what you think of Sean Diddy Combs, do you fear about reprisals?
No, I don't fear anything like that. I'm very, very good at what I do, and I'm trained in everything dangerous. I knew what I signed up for. I'm very well aware of the risk. You know, I'm gonna go back into hiding after this, of course, but at the same time, me as a man, you know, I'm here to fulfill my duty. God sent me to do a job, and I intend to get that job accomplished.
Do you think Diddy would want you?
Probably be in his best interest if I was. What I'll say is, throughout my career path, we may end up with a phone. And in that phone, you'll see a list of trophies. And when it was announced that he had CCTV film cameras in the house, when the Homeland Security did the initial raid, they didn't inform the raiding officers whose home they were raiding because they had information that he might have been protected. And, you know, part of Epstein's thing was to get people in precarious situations, and then you have this footage that you can use against them to be able to have your way with champions of industry and able to control policy. He does the same thing. So, you know, if you want to be able to seal a big deal and there's a guy you know likes to party, it's easy to set that up. You know, you send a guy a screenshot like, yeah, man, you had such a good time with those 2 underage girls yesterday, man. You remember this video right here? That person is gonna have some incentive to help you out in what you need them to do. We've seen this over and over.